All right, day 279. Hope everybody had a happy 4th of July, everybody. All right. Let's get right into it. Today we're looking at a subject to deal or a subto deal, which means that we're buying a property subject to the existing financing, which means that we're taking over the payments on the underlying loan of the property. Now, the attractiveness of these deals is that typically, let me double check my audio, is that typically is it on here? All right, I think we're good. Let me double check the audio. I'm not seeing this come through. 1 second, everybody. Double check the audio. All right, that works. All right. So for today, when you buy a property with a underlying loan of interest rate at 3.12%, typically you can sell the property for a little bit more. And sometimes people sell deals on a subject to agreement because they cannot get the same price or listing price that they might have wanted to have if they just listed on the market after agent fees, after paying off the loans, et cetera, right? A buyer might not be willing to do that. But if they've got an underlying loan at 3.12%, then maybe they will. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're analyzing today. All right. So this is at 11511 Hereford Street in Manor, Texas, 78653. Purchase price $365,000. Interest rate 3.12%. Let me zoom out a little bit so everybody can see. Total payment $24.73. This number is going to be very important. I'll explain why in just a second. And the entry fee is $35,060. 4-bed, 2.5 bath, 1919 square feet. ARV, HOA, 6 month minimum lease, so you can't short-term rental it. 25060. So let's go plug in some of these numbers right now. We're going to be super efficient with our time because this is a creative finance deal. All right, $365,000. Okay. Total entry fee 35,060, and that's made out 25,060. All right, I'll put this over this way. This way you guys can kind of see it better on Instagram. And you guys want a full screen version, just go to youtube.com/@Kent_HE. $10,000 assignment fee, boom, right here. All right, principal, HOA $15. What's my mortgage information? It's gonna be right here, $329,940. Just plug that right into K6. Cell K6. Interest rate 3.12%, 30 years, and this matures 6/1/2051. So I'm gonna do 2021 here, just 30 years, assuming it's a 30-year mortgage, which is very typical, right? Delete the secondary mortgage, so there's no secondary mortgage. That was from yesterday's underwriting. And there's a $15 HOA fee. We'll plug that right in here in B34. All right, total PITI breakdown. 2473. Okay, if the 2473 includes HOA, I'm going to delete the HOA $15 here, and I'm just going to go to the cell right here in B28. The equals 2473 in B28 minus the sub-2 principal portion of the payment minus minus B20, which is the principal portion of the sub-2 loan, and then minus B21, which is the interest portion of the sub-2 loan. And I'm doing that so that you don't have to figure out, hey, in this month, what happens when it's similar to an assumable mortgage. It's not the same as assumable mortgage. And this is why. The main difference here, exclusively, the main difference is that the assumable mortgage means that you would have to requalify using your own tax returns, using your own W-2 income to go for it, and then you got to pay all these fees. A subject to deal means that you're buying the property, but then you're just taking over the payments because the debt and the property's deed or title, whatever you want to call it, is separate, two separate things. So that's why when you take over the existing loan subject to, you're just taking over the payments. And usually you can hire a servicer like Westar as an example to take over, and you just direct deposit from your property's bank account directly towards Westar, and then Westar will pay off these payments on every monthly basis, so you can get back statements to indicate that a payment has been made to whatever bank it is servicing. All right. And today, Crypto 1K, we are underwriting this as a Section 8 rental, which means that we're just using long-term rental rates. Great question, guys. Thank you for asking the questions. I appreciate it. Makes this process a little bit less lonely, a little bit less boring. All right. So now that I got 2458, this is going to give me the total amount of property taxes and insurance on this property related to the payment, right? So you see how right here it says escrow is $949, right, on the disclosed statement, but I'm getting $1,060. That's simply just me adjusting up and downwards based on what has been disclosed to me. All right, that's all I'm doing. So then I'm going to add extra $30 of insurance payments every single month because I'm assuming someone's living here as a primary residence. So insurance has been going up every single year. So I'm adding extra $30 because in B28, there is an element of property taxes and insurance there already. But we're going to assume it's going to cost more once we buy the property. All right. And then for my expenses in B10, I put 10% here. This is for our maintenance. So in case you have to replace a roof, in case you have to replace the air conditioning, in case you have to replace a water heater in 10, 12, 15, 20 years, doesn't matter. This is money that does not belong to you. Okay. We know a roof is going to get replaced. And if you don't set aside $100 or $200 every single month, then you're going to think 10 years down the road, you made a lot of money, but then all of a sudden you have this big capital expenditure, like replacing a roof, and you're going to realize that you didn't make any money for the past 10 years. And that's not something you really want to go through, right? So don't be that person. Always underwrite with maintenance and never trust anybody if they tell you to underwrite without maintenance, even if it's a turnkey property. All right. So 10% for property management. I got 5% for vacancy right here. And then so for my rents, how am I going to get my rents? All right. Now I got these expenses in here. I'm going to go here and let's take a look at the general condition of the property. This property looks pretty good. Looks pretty much rent ready. A little bit of carpeting. You could replace the carpet if you like. You could get by without it. I'm going to leave it alone for now and just set aside a little bit of money to, let's say, paint half the house. Okay. Just in case there's some blemishes or these pictures are not representative. Maybe they photoshopped it or something like that. So I'm going to put in half the square footage for painting at $3 a square foot. Okay. Now I'm going to get my county because I need to get my fair market rents, my FMR, which is my rent ceiling for Section 8. So for Travis County, I'm going to go to Google HUD FMR, and I'm click on the first link at the very top, fair market rents. I'm going to scroll down here to this area, this link where it says access to small area FMRs. Therefore, you don't have a title. You don't have a title in hand for subject to. Well, you would still take title to the property, right? Because the title is very different than the loan. Hopefully, I'm not sure I'm understanding that comment, but explain and clarify for me, and I'll try to answer that question. Look up FY 2024, and then go to Texas, and then go to Travis County, and now you're going to be able to get by bedroom count, by zip code, what the total maximum rent should be. So 78653, 78653, and you're going to see that the rent ceiling here for a 4-bedroom is $3,200. Okay. Rent ceiling, 4-bedroom, $3,200. 78653, 78653. And just while I'm here, I'm just going to write down the fair market rents for a 3-bedroom, just so that I can be clear on what that is. And that was $2,790. $2,790. Okay. So now I got my ceiling rents. The next thing I need to do is get my market rents. To get my market rents, I'm going to go to affordablehousing.com. I am then going to go to the owner section. I'm going to click on the market rent estimator. This is the ad. Just get out of that. I'll plug in the address right here. Whoops. Plug in the address. Plug in the bedroom count. Click get estimate. And the most important number right here is going to be this number here on the far right. It says right here that for 25 units within a 1.53 mile radius, the average rent is $24.28. Okay, 2428, 1.53, 1.53. Then we'll get the rest of these numbers right here. 2872. I'm writing down these numbers because my partners know how I analyze deals, and they always like these references for how does our radius compare to the rest of the county, city, and zip. All right, just out of curiosity, let me just check what the 3 bedrooms are. And you see that there's a $400 lift. It went from $2,400 to $2,000 when I decreased the bedroom count from 4 to 3 beds. All right. So it's worth the squeeze here to get to a 4-bedroom. But will you cash flow on this deal? Okay. Now here's the problem. Okay. You see that the FMR was $3,200. Now usually that includes some utilities, but that is the ceiling rent. If you underwrote this property, assuming $3,000 or $3,200, you will be grossly overestimating the rent you can get for this property. Because why? Because of the rent reasonableness test. Okay, you're asking, like, what is a rent reasonableness test? All right, I'm going to pull up the HCV, or Housing Choice Voucher Program guidebook. HCV was formerly known as Section 8. They rebranded it from Section 8 to Housing Choice Voucher because of all the negative connotation associated with Section 8. We're going to go to Section 2.2, and there's a section called In Conducting Rent Reasonableness. The PHA must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. So in determining comparability, the PHA must consider the following factors where appropriate and practical. So the location, the size, unit type is going to matter. A 3-bedroom apartment is going to be very different than a 3-bedroom single-family home. But in this scenario, we're going to assume that all these 4-bedrooms are single families, because you don't typically see 4-bedroom apartments, right? It's just no one really builds those. So now that you got that in here, okay, now you have to lower it to, because that's a more reasonable rent. You can't charge more rent to a voucher holder simply because they're a voucher holder. You can't charge them $3,200 when everybody else is charging $2,425. Let's say you even go to $2,450, right? Just slightly above what that number is. You have to use $2,450 to underwrite the deal. So let's go through the rest of the numbers, right? So let's go to our rehab calculator. Want to plug in the details there. So I always leave aside $1,500 for the roof, because usually there's some roof patching that needs to happen that you can't see from the photos. I got $500 for landscaping right here in row 46 on the rehab calculator spreadsheet. I got, let's do equals 1919. So in G86, I want to equals 1990 divided by 2. So I'm assuming I need to repaint about half the square footage at $3 a square foot, just in case there's some blemishes, or I need to repaint the house to make it look more neutral, more attractive to a family. All right, and that's all I'm gonna have for here. And I got 2 high pressure flush toilet replacements, because I've never gotten any clogged toilet calls when I started doing that. So I'm gonna stick to that, because I don't want to waste any energy answering clogged toilet calls. So now I'm $69.34 for my rehab. So what does this mean? If I rent this out as a 4-bedroom using a $2,450 rent, that would make me negative cash flow. So I'd be losing $665 a month, and that's a negative 15.6% return on this deal. And that for me is not a deal. And again, right, this is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. I'm simply showing you all the work I'm doing every day to get into reps, but also to get really great comfort levels around how to quickly analyze the deal and how to quickly rule out the deals. I know at this point, this is not worth my time to send somebody out there to get photos for me, to get a contractor to bid on a project for me, because I know this is way too much work, and I don't want to erode the goodwill I have with boots on the ground or with a contractor, sending them out to a property that I know I'm not going to buy, because I know I'm not going to cash flow. Now, there might be some people in the world that says, hey, if I just break even on this deal, that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me, because I know this area is going to appreciate for like 5-10% every single year. But that's very speculative, very risky. But again, that's to each their own, right? Everybody has their own strategy. And sometimes folks make a lot more money on appreciation than a couple $100 of cash flow. In this scenario, you don't even make any cash flow. So what I want you to do today is look at the same deal I looked at today, right? Right? You can look at the same deal right here. You have the same address, same purchase price, same details. Then use the same spreadsheet. You want to copy the spreadsheet, just go to affordablehousing.io and go to the Get Deal Analysis tool, affordablehousing.io, not .com.io. Click on the Get Deal Analysis tool. Put in your name, your email, your phone. I promise I won't spam you. And that's the fastest way for people to get a copy of the spreadsheet. And I used to have a bottleneck where I had my VA help me send out all the spreadsheets to folks. And this is just a way faster way. So this way, I'm not the bottleneck. And just analyze the same deal with me using the same spreadsheet. And my hope is that you put it on your own YouTube channel. Stay consistent with me. Analyze the deal every single day. Because when a deal comes across your table and slaps you across the face, are you going to recognize that it's a deal? I certainly hope so. And if you're out there right now and you're scared and you don't know where to start, I'm really hoping that this is one option for you to choose from. Because sometimes we get super anxious and scared because we don't know where to start, because we don't know what the options are. Well, I wish someone was out there every single day analyzing deals so that I can copy their homework. so that I can get the comfort level, so that I can build my track record, so I can build the confidence for myself that, hey, I know what I'm doing. And if a partner ever asks you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? You can say, hey, I know this is a deal because I've been looking at deals for the past 278 days, 279 days. And they were all not deals. Might that give you some confidence that you know what you're doing? Might that give your partners a little bit more confidence that you know what you're doing? I certainly hope so. So copy my homework, find one part where I was talking through it and explain it better. Find one part I'm doing, use a better analogy. Doesn't matter what it is. I certainly hope this was tremendously helpful. And just remember, all it takes is just 18 minutes a day. 18 minutes a day, and you'll be better at analyzing deals than 95% of the country. All right, I hope you all have an amazing day today. I'll see you all again tomorrow for day 280, I believe. All right, have a good one. Talk to you tomorrow, and I hope you guys all have an amazing Friday with your family and friends today.